full update yet, no. But no, not yet.
I guess you have a preliminary update?
It's similar as last night, so just gather all the information before I make any assumptions there.
Is it too early to rule it out for a week?
Yeah, we'll just take a little bit more time to make sure we got all the information.
Now that you've had time to watch the tape and digest it, can you just give us your overall thoughts? Now you've been able to watch it a few times, what you thought were some of your issues, but you like just your overall thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think first of all you got to give credit to Dallas. I thought they did a nice job and they did the things they needed to do to win the game, particularly getting off to a fast start and then finishing the game in that 2-minute drill to go win it. So you got to give them credit. I also think that there were some things that we did to ourselves that are a little bit self-inflicted that put us behind the 8 ball a little bit on offense. Defensively, those first 2 drives could have been a little sharper on a couple plays. It's not all the plays. It's just a couple key plays there. It could be a little better, and then we're in a better position to play the type of game we wanted. So, those are all things that we think we can correct. That's the good thing, and we will, and we'll be better for it going forward.
Zach, I think of Mixon's 19 carries, I think 14 of them came in the second half. Was that wanting to establish the run, or was that just trying to mitigate those first downs, kind of like you were talking about?
Well, we only got, aside from the 2-minute, we only had 3 possessions in the first half, and so that's part of what happens when you defer, so you don't get the ball. Then they had the 2 long drives, so it's going to minimize your plays. And then on top of that, we had, I think, 2 first and 15s and a whatever the sack was on the 12 personnel sack. So it was probably second and 16, and we still ran it, but it's not the favorable situations you want to be in. So you put yourself a little bit more in pass mode, and so you don't quite get the carries that you were intending until we got into the second half, and then we got into a better flow.
It looks like y'all played a lot more 12 and maybe heavy looks yesterday than we're used to seeing out of you. Is there a particular reason as to kind of why y'all look that way?
Well, we thought the Big 13 was good for us, when we had the extra linemen in there, and it was. I think they got us in the last one, but there were some good efficient runs in there to be had, so we liked that. And then the 12 personnel was just, that's something we always want to be able to do, blend it in, run past. There's some favorable looks you can get there and help yourself in the protections, and I think our guys have done a good job embracing that stuff.
Yesterday I asked Joe how you balance, when you said you wanted to be an even more explosive team this year, how you're able to still be able to take the shots. Like Jamar said, he wanted you guys to take more shots yesterday against the fronts that you guys are seeing. Like, is that having a better run game? Like, how do you offset that? Because it seems like every week you always say they're facing a good pass rusher,
Yeah.
but that's kind of like the key to your offense. So
Yeah.
where are you at with that?
It's a long year is where I'm at with that, and so it's early in the season, and so again, we have to be patient and find ways to win these games early, and then your identity continues to take shape, and those opportunities will present themselves, and when they do, you have to maximize them. That's a good combination to have there. I think the simplest way to put it is we've put ourselves down 2 scores right out the gate in 2 games so far, and we're not that team. That's not a good way to start. It is going to take away your opportunities to be as aggressive as you want to be, because you've given them a 2-score lead, and now they can play exactly how they want to play. And those are things that we got to rectify and be better at. And again, patient. It's a long year. Those opportunities are going to come. Never been around great players that didn't want the ball in their hands at all time down the field. That's what we want from our guys, and we'll continue to work to make that a reality.
How much does it affect your play calling when you're saying being down 2 scores? How much does that affect what you plan going into the game? Like, as the play caller, how much do you have to adjust?
Well, you're going to see different looks than you want to see when it's an even game or you got a little bit of a lead. But what we've shown is that we can come back. So there's no point in all of a sudden throwing everything out the window and saying we're going to throw the ball every snap. Like he was saying, we still ran the ball a healthy amount in the second half, even despite being down what we were down. So we've proven that, unfortunately, too many times, but we can get back in any game. We're never out of it. And again, just being patient and finding the right opportunities to get into our flow, which I thought we did a better job as the game went on. Really in possessions 5 through whatever at the end of the game, that's where we got into a better rhythm. And we just, again, evaluate all areas of everything I can control to get us off to a better start.
How can you, as a play caller, kind of maybe make Burrow more comfortable early in games and then kind
I don't necessarily think it's about making Burrow comfortable. It's just about helping us find a rhythm as an offense.
In terms of the offensive line and the communication, are those easy correctable errors, just a little more
Yeah.
focus at the line? Like, when you said, you mentioned it yesterday, how do you fix those now?
Yeah, you can really look at 3 false starts and then 1 clear cut communication error and protection, and the 3 false starts were for 3 different reasons. I feel confident that those guys understand the reasoning why, and that we can be better at that going forward. And then the protection, whether it was the noise and didn't get the call all the way out, it's one of those things where we got to get it done because you can't have number 11 running free. But it happened, and so we've got to make sure that we're always on top of the communication. We can correct that.
That was a clear communication breakdown, right?
Yeah, we don't. Yeah.
How comfortable does Burrow look moving around the pocket? Last year, that might have been one of his biggest strengths, and this year it feels like there have been moments where either holding the ball too long or taking sacks and not getting rid of it. What have you seen in that?
I think one of the greatest strengths of Joe Burrow is his ability to extend plays, and that's where a lot of the magic happens. And there's a give and take there. So you're going to end up holding the ball sometimes longer. There's sometimes he's always going to work to find an open receiver and get the ball to him as quickly as possible. That's objective number 1. And objective number 2 is help us sometimes find a play when there's not a play to be made. So he does a good job of striking that balance. I think one thing with we knew this about Dallas going in is that they give you a lot of problems up front. They do a really good job. They've done that for the last year. They're going to continue to do that this year. And they do a really good job matching it on the back end, with some really talented players. And so, again, we've just got to put these 2 games behind us and continue to grow and move forward and evolve as an offense, and I think that we will.
Talked about rectifying slow starts. How do you do that other than just say it? I mean, is there something you can do or a way you can approach a game plan to try to fix that? And how do you approach that?
Well, it's not being stuck in your ways, and again, it's a small sample size right now. It's 2 games. So that's the part that we make sure we portray to our team. This is a very small sample size. We haven't won, so this is going to be what's portrayed, and you're going to have to deal with until we change it. At the same time, you do have to be flexible in your approach, and maybe just because we've done something a certain way for a long time doesn't mean that you can't look at small ways during the week to tweak it. That was a conversation Brian and I were having 20 minutes ago. Let's just be open-minded as the week goes, and find ways to help ourselves, even if it's just it's all psychological. You just never know. But again, I think our team is in a really good place. We got really good leadership and we have really good talent. And 2 games in the season, we're not where we want to be, but we're able to put these behind us and refocus on the Jets and get back on track. And just one good performance really put you back on track and find you that rhythm and that confidence that you're capable of.
DJ was saying that a lot of times early in games, every player falls victim to it. It's a feeling out process in the first drive or 2. And he's like, we got to kind of change that idea of dictating to them rather than trying to have a feel out. Is that something you kind of preach to the team a little bit?
Sure. And that works in all the phases, and it's sometimes it just takes you one play on your side of the ball to kickstart some really good action. And so early on when they get the momentum and and you're feeling it out and they've got the momentum, it's you got to pull yourself out. You got to find a way to pull yourself out of it. And again, early in this process, we can do a better job of that.
Ted talked about the last 2 weeks in the fourth quarter, every drive for the offense has been do or die and got to have it. And is that hard in the moment but make you more resilient? What is that like for an offense when you're kind of constantly, every play you got to have that 2-point, you got to have that touchdown, as he was kind of describing?
That's whether it's the second game of the season or in the playoffs, that's where we really feel like we're at our best, and that's good because that's just the mentality of the players. They expect to be great in those big moments, and they always show up for us, it feels like. And so that's these games in the NFL usually come down to 3 points here or there. That's what's happened our first 2 weeks of the season. But I know that our guys embrace those tough moments, those big moments where you either rise up or you shrink away, and our guys tend to rise up. And obviously it hasn't worked out completely in our favor so far, but again, I've got the confidence that our guys, they live for those moments and they show up big time.
When you have a guy like Joe Burrow, who's built his reputation as kind of a cold-blooded killer and just closer, Is that kind of the trade-off? Is you can't be great at everything, and maybe it's just something you have to live with, the kind of the slower starts and feeling out?
Yeah, we don't want to live with it, obviously. Again, it's you can almost boil it down to one play here or there. We had a really good drive, and then we took 2 negative plays. And, maybe if we had avoided one of those 2 negative plays, we'd be in the end zone for 7 points, and then these conversations wouldn't take shape. But until we rectify that, that's what the conversation should be. And so, again, I think that we'll have a good path forward. And, again, small sample size, and we'll be better. We'll continue to improve as the season goes.
Do you see any parallel at all between the slow starts in games? Because even when you look at Joe's numbers, his drives 1 and 2 versus the rest of the game, it goes back even to last year as a rookie. Is there any parallel at all between the slow starts to a specific drive, what you were talking about, the first down inefficiency, and then the slow starts to games as a whole?
I'll just say this, we do have to get a feel for how teams are playing us early on, because oftentimes I think with the weapons that we have, it is a little bit different. That's what we've seen as guys try to figure out how to take us away. And so we'll just continue to communicate in-house on what we can do to put our players in the best position and make sure everyone fully understands what we're trying to achieve early on and be on the same page and make sure we can put the ball in the end zone earlier than we have.
With the TV mics picked up, or Joe and you having a discussion about empty or not, I guess at one point during the game, and whether you wanted to have empty or not in the backfield. What's that conversation been like? As obviously it's something that y'all use extensively since he's gotten here. How have those conversations maybe developed over the last couple of weeks or throughout the time since last offseason?
With conversations about the offense?
Empty versus not using empty.
Empty yesterday, I think we were 6 of 6 for 76 yards maybe. Is that the question?
No, but I appreciate the numbers. I was more along the lines of what are the conversations like between you and Burrow about how much empty you want to use, what are the times you use it, and when he likes it, when he doesn't like it. How have those conversations been?
He likes it. Maybe there's third down situations where you're battling with the protection issues because you're going to get different fronts. And so those would be, I don't know the specific conversation you're talking about. So I'm trying to feel my way through this question here, but that would maybe be what you're talking about.
Jay, can you help me out? What was it?
It was a 3rd and 4, and you guys called a timeout. And the TV camera caught Joe saying, "No empty set here."
Okay.
So I guess you guys were in empty. He called timeout, came over, and it just seemed like he didn't want to go empty against that front.
Okay. They were in cover 0, so he called timeout in cover 0. So I think that's what we're talking about.
That's correct, yes.
So he called timeout because they were in 0. Okay.
Can you provide some insight why, when a team plays like you did against Dallas, where they want to make you earn everything, Dan Quinn's defense he wants to eliminate the explosive plays, why it's probably not as easy as it is to say, well, shouldn't that be a Tyler Boyd game because the position he plays, if Burrow's going to have those short passes to move you down the field. Can you explain why it's not as simple as just saying that?
Yeah. Cover 2, there can be short passes. Typically, the windows are a little bit beyond that, a little deeper than the corners, behind those backers. Not always short stuff. They've kind of got guys there in those shorter areas that can be there. Tends to be in the pockets beyond it. And so, again, we've got a menu of plays we try to get to, and we're trying to predict that it's going to be cover 2. And then we got things that are good for both. It might be a pick-a-side concept. This is good versus 3 and 4. This is good versus 2. Here's your man answer. And so that's one area. That's one of many areas I think Joe really excels in, is identifying the coverage and either knowing what our cover 2 answer is and how TB is involved in that, or getting us to a better play. If he can see the clear coverage and, hey, this play is better, he's got full reign to do that. He does a really good job of that. To answer to TB, it's as a game plays out, sometimes guys just don't get as many targets as not that you predict going into a game, because we got a lot of weapons, so we don't have to play the prediction game of we need to force targets to this guy. It just happens naturally. I think that's one of the beauties of having all the skill guys that we have is, okay, on the 2-point conversion, they're going to double Jamar. T just had the touchdown the play before. Now TB's got a one-on-one. He's got to win, and he did. And he won big there. And so that's what all these guys, I think that they recognize is they don't know when their numbers necessarily going to come up and we're going to be needed in the biggest play of the game. And you could argue at that moment that was probably the biggest play of the game. That TB's, Jamar had the catch on 4th down on a contested slant. T had the scramble drill that he made the play for the touchdown, and then TB stepped up. And so I think that kind of just showcases our receiver room and the most critical drive of the game, all 3 of those guys stepped up on a 4th down, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion to put us in a position to win. And it's a very unselfish group. I'm sure they all want 15 touches a game. They should. They work hard, and they put themselves in that position. That's just the way it plays out. TB is one of those guys that's I've never, in my 4 years here, seen any sense of ego about him or outward frustration that's affected the team in any way, even if he's at times faulted inward because you're a premier playmaker and you don't get all the touches that maybe you think you should get. But that's what I do appreciate about TB.
We spoke about, the 3rd and 3 on your last drive of the game yesterday, but on the first 2 plays on that drive, one was what came first, one was a check down, ended up, I believe, in Mixon. What were you looking to do on those plays?
What was the situation in the game you're talking
The
about?
first 2 plays on that last 3 now at the end of the game.
Okay.
What were you looking to do on those plays, and how do you feel like those plays progress?
Yeah. The first play was a little bit of a completion play mindset because we were backed up, and so that's what we got. We called a couple plays in the huddle, and Joe got us the right one. And find a completion, get a drive starter in 2 minutes, always critical. The second play, we were a little more aggressive, and they didn't give us the coverage we would have been able to be aggressive again, so Joe did a good job checking the ball down. The third play, it was a little bit of a communication issue because the headset broke, so now you got to yell, and you're a little bit late getting in and out of the huddle. Diggs did a good job. He was communicating, which we were hoping, with a quicker snap, and then he did a good job just taking an extra step to be able to be in a position to run through the mesh and go tackle TB, unfortunately. So that was we almost had what we wanted, then we didn't. And he made a good play and put them in a better position to go down and score. But again, I think we had the right intent with those 3 plays. We had opportunities. Had they given us different looks, Joe did a really good job managing and finding us completions on those first 2 plays to put us in a really manageable 3rd and 4. Then unfortunately, we just didn't get it done.
What's the big message going to be to the team this week as y'all kind of look for that first win in week 3?
That put this behind us and refocus on what you can control in practice, refocus on what the game, because we have the talent. We have a great coaching staff. We have great players. I don't think that there's any big message that these guys are having to hear right now. Just having met with the team, met with the captains, met with all, this team is still in a really good spot. And when you haven't won a game, the outside world is going to react how they should until you win. And so that's just part of what we sign up for. That's part of what's being so great about being in the arena. And you just continue to work hard, and good things will happen when you just trust the process and trust in what you're putting in. And I got a lot of belief in this team, and until you win, the narrative is going to be the narrative, and that's fine. And I think these guys enjoy being in the foxhole with each other and trying to go on the road and get our first win and enjoying an airplane ride. And so, again, our focus this week is just putting ourselves in the best position to be able to do that.
Everything seemed to go smoothly with a new long snapper, made all your
Yeah.
kicks, et cetera. Anything stand out about Cal and his debut and how the group worked together?
I thought that he put in the work, with Darren and Colt. He seemed real loose to me. It's just being around him, the situations I'm around him. You kind of forgot the moment it was for him. Dallas does not make it easy on you. They're going to present you with some challenging looks, and you got to be up to the task. And I thought Cal did a really good job, and that's credit to Darren and Kevin and all the people that are involved in that and making him feel comfortable, making him feel prepared. But when you're a guy that's like him, he's talented. He put in the work. Slows down for you, and you're able to make the plays that you're supposed to make. And so I thought it was off to a good start for Cal.
Although it might not entirely be the offensive line's fault when they're seeing 6 sacks, 7 sacks against Joe, it's got to be discouraging. What is the mood or temperature around the line right now?
Really good, just because of the character of that group. And I agree with you. There's a narrative that forms that they're not solely responsible for, and that part sucks. but it's a really impressive group. When you're around that group as a whole, you got a lot of confidence in them and the things that they're going to be able to do for us this year.
Cowboys' last drive, just them getting rid of the ball quickly to get those.
Yeah, and they got a chunk there to CD also that put them in a good position. And so again, that's an area we got to buckle down and find a way to take the ball off of them, or when we get their hands on a ball, come down with it and create that turnover. We strive to be 2-0 in the turnover battle, and we were close. If we just could have gotten one more, I felt like the game would have gone the other way for us. And so that's life in the NFL, man. You play really good. Our defense, obviously, they had the first two drives, and then they really buckled down and played really, really good. And, we needed the offense to pick them up once, or them to pick up the offense one last time to go win the game. And unfortunately, that's just not what happened. But, again, I know that we've done a good job focusing on that and improving, for the next time that situation comes up.